So welcome to a little lab rat fun networking with fish. We're going to go ahead and play in the lab today. Just as a quick aside, I am not a LiveAction expert. I really like the tool a lot, but I still joke that I am a CLI girl living in a GUI world that is changing. I have always loved Wireshark, but for whatever reason I don't view that as a GUI. Anyway, playing in the lab, we're going to go ahead and do LiveAction 4.4, some administrative fun. First, we're going to notice an issue, and then I think I know why it's happening, so we're going to go offline outside of the YouTube. We're going to export some logs for LiveAction, stop the server, take a snapshot of the VM. We're going to clear the database, install a new license while we're at it, start the server, and check that everything is okay. So let's go ahead and play in my LiveAction environment. So my LiveAction environment is right here. What you can see is that I'm doing a lot of WAN information. So it's IWAN, which is Intelligent WAN. And what I do is, this is actually, as you can see, this is my view of my flow, branches going over the MPLS and the internet. And then what I've been doing, without noticing it much, is I've gone over to system and been showing customers, for example, if I look at the applications, I can actually come down here and I can notice historical applications. For example, yesterday you can see a little around before 4 p.m. I had true voice and video going up. I had some real Cisco phones doing audio video back and forth to each other. And so I'll actually be on this screen for a little bit showing people stuff and poking around a little bit. And then suddenly what will happen is I will actually end up changing screens back over. When it happens, it looks just like that. And actually the funny thing is, I didn't expect it to happen. Now, when that has happened to me, I will switch back over again. And it wasn't until this morning that one of my coworkers was noticing in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see that there was actually an alarm, and then the advisory. So we're going to go ahead and do that again. So we're going to go back on over here. Now I want you to look in the bottom right-hand corner here. So ignore what I'm doing here, or put it on pause and play back. So we're going to go ahead and be looking at the branches. We're going to be finding what's happening for them. We're going to be going over to WAN PFR and going over here into what's going on with them. We can also look from a 4-hour perspective. What's the service utilization? What's the DSCP? Has there been loss, delay, jitter? And then after a period of time, which may not happen now, there we go. See, LiveAction advisory, data purging. So as soon as that happens, what seems to happen is I go from I go from the LiveAction main page, which is this one. I go from the dashboard back over to the LiveAction main page. And what seems to be pulling me back is actually these advisories. So what happens is I'll be over on the dashboard and it'll pull me back to the main page. And so what Robert Kittner noticed is that it was always happening in relationship to that warning in the bottom right-hand corner. So it's pulling me back to the main page, telling me I have low disk space, and some data was purged to meet the minimum disk space threshold. Now, as you can see, I've been having that for a long time now. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, if you look back here, we're going to first notice the issue, and then offline, I'm going to export the logs to LiveAction. Now, when I export these logs to LiveAction, will I be doing it from the client view? The view we were in before was actually the client view. So we're going to actually go into the server view, export the logs for LiveAction, which I've already done, stop the server, which admittedly I've also already done, and take a snapshot, but let me just at least review that with you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to the server view. So as you can see here, I have a server view. So here is the LiveAction client view that we were just in. But I also have the LiveAction server as a VM. And so this is the LiveAction Server Management Console. You can see that I am at 4.4. My license, coincidentally, is going to expire on August 1st. It's July 15th, so I'd go ahead and like take care of that right now while I'm doing these changes. So what I did before was I went into Help and I did an export logs, because in 4.4 there were some enhancements made to some of the logs. So I'm going to go ahead and do these logs and send them off to LiveAction. Make sure that I'm not doing anything kind of sort of stupid and wrong here. Now, another thing that we're going to do is we're going to say that I sent the logs off and that I'm going to go ahead and go to Properties. Now, I'm having issues, as you saw, from a disk space issue and from a database issue. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to figure out what database am I actually using. So I'm actually using var LiveAction data 4.4. So let's go ahead and go to var LiveAction data. So var LiveAction data, and if we look at this, I actually have two directories in there. I have 4.4 and I still have the previous directory from 4.3 in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and su to root. And then I'm going to do an rm-r on 4.3. Maybe I should have said everything, but anyway, here we go. Okay, I went ahead and fast forwarded because I was too lazy to go ahead and stop mid-delete. So we are back in var LiveAction data, and I have said yes to everything. And if we do an ls, we'll notice that we only have 4.4 in there. 4.3 is completely gone. So let's go ahead and go back over here. And also let's do one other thing. So before I actually did this, I do want to show you that I had actually taken a snapshot of my LiveAction server. Before I did all these changes, I would highly recommend that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and find out whether or not just that and only that actually helped with our problem. So let's go ahead and go back to LiveAction. Let's go to our advisories, and let's notice that we actually haven't had a problem. It is, according to this, 12:25, so we actually haven't had a problem since 12:21, and it looks like we were having a problem every minute. So let's go ahead and poke around a little bit. Go back over to Dashboard and look at the applications. And so while we're doing this, we'll just go ahead and kind of sort of poke around. I do like the fact that I actually have application history here. I can kind of sort of figure out what the top applications were. And I can actually do a drilling down, so I could actually come in here and I could actually drill down on a specific flow. So I kiddingly refer to LiveAction as a NetFlow 9 collector on major steroids. One of the other things that I do like about it from an IWAN perspective is that I can actually send traffic up to it from a PFR perspective. So these are my branches. I might have loss, delay, jitter, and I can go ahead and go backwards, 4 hours, 1 hour, all the sites, whatever I want. And as you can see, I have actually been over on this application site for quite a while. And we can go back again and we can see back over here that I have not had any advisories since 12:21 p.m. So from that perspective, it really was just as simple as cleaning up the prior data flow, etc. for 4.3. Now, let's go ahead and also address my licensing. So my licensing on my server, as we can see, is about to expire. Now, I have already actually moved it over. I got the key from LiveAction the other day to get me through to 2016. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to figure out how to go ahead and do that. So we noticed the issue is going back and forth between the main screen and the dashboard. We went offline, exported the logs over to LiveAction to make sure that everything else is copacetic. I stopped the server, took a snapshot of the VM. Didn't have to actually do a clear of the database because what actually was happening is that I still had my old database in there for 4.3. Never cleaned that up. So now we're going to go ahead, and while we have this snapshot, we're going to go ahead and install a new license. So if we actually go back over to our LiveAction server Red Hat client, if we do an ls-l, I actually have two LiveAction keys, one from Robert Kittner. That was the one that's going to expire on August 1st because Robert was one of the original people that were on the IWAM pre-ballistic testbed. I'm just inheriting it, learning lots from what they did. And then the one that I just got from LiveAction the other day. So what I have been told is first we're going to go ahead and we're going to shut down the service. So we're going to shut down the LiveAction server. Once we actually shut down, then we're going to go ahead and change the license. So we will change the license, and then we will go ahead and activate the license. And we should then see that we're good until next year. So let's go ahead and change the license. An active license is currently installed. Would you like to deactivate the license? And if you select no, you may need to deactivate the license later if you want to reactivate it on another computer. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say yes. And note, if you want to reactivate your license using the online method via the internet, you should not deactivate using the offline method. So we're going to go ahead and any offline license activation activity will require contacting LiveAction and may delay the reactivation of your, now that's the reactivation, not the activation. So I want to go ahead and deactivate my license. So we're going to go ahead and do a next. And we're going to go ahead and notify the vendor. And we're going to go do a direct connection, so we finish. The license has been successfully deactivated. If the server is running, it will shut down at midnight unless another license is installed and the server is restarted. So I have a valid license, so let's go ahead and do I have a valid license, and the location is actually over in desktop. So we're going to go ahead and pick the desktop one, and it's actually not in root, it is in admin. Home, admin, desktop, and we're going to go ahead and use the one that is for me. Had a little bit of a delay there, not too sure why. A lot of me clicking, as you can tell. And so please specify the place where the valid license is done. So let's go ahead and do a finish and accept, and please activate me online. And we have a direct connection. So the service needs to be restarted in order for the license changes to be reflected. And so we'll go ahead and start the service. And we say that the server is currently up and running, but let's go ahead and go over and make sure that our client is still good. Now our client, of course, got lost before because of the fact that the connection to the server was lost. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back in to our LiveAction. So that means we have to close the LiveAction server, close my vSphere, and go ahead and go to the LiveAction client. And that's going to be admin. Having fat fingers today. And so there we go. Now if we actually see these alerts and advisories now, it's actually because of the fact that we had problems. Of course, we stopped the server, so we had error connecting to the devices. And now it's going to go ahead and it's going to come up, but everything is fat, dumb, and happy. We'll leave it alone to go ahead and pull things, and then we'll come back in just a second. So we're back. We left this at 12:52 p.m. It is now 1:25 p.m. So we can go ahead and see all of our different traffic that's going on right now. Let's go ahead and do a refresh. We'll see all the traffic that's going on in our IWAN environment right now. And remember, It was at 12:52 p.m. that we just last left this, again 1:26 p.m. here. So if we look at the advisories, our last advisory was at 12:48 p.m. So as we can see, the database issue is no longer happening. We resolved that. And as we saw, we are also up on the most recent license, which will get us through to July of 2016. So from that perspective, we have gone to the noticing the issue, going offline, learning how to export logs so that you can give them to LiveAction, stopping the server, taking a snapshot of the VM. That's just normal VM stuff. Now, I will say that when I did take a snapshot of the VM, I did stop the server, cleared the database, installed the new license. When we installed the new license, of course, we stopped the server and started the server, made sure everything was okay, went back over a half hour later, and everything was still okay. All the LiveAction was doing exactly what it needs to be doing, and we were not having that issue anymore. So anyway, I hope you had a lot of fun playing in the lab with me today. Have a great day.